Alrighty then, welcome to the shit show. This is a recording of a channel point redeem on my Twitch page, where I make a story off the top of my head, and Sarzac, which is also one of the main characters in this one, brought or redeemed this for the third or fourth time to add more to the story. I did do this on Twitch, but after looking back on it, got really choppy. Or like half a word here and there just went poof. So I'm having to redo it all again. So shout out to Sarzac for redeeming this. Let's get into the story. To give a little bit of background, the biggest players in this story today would be Sarzac, the Vampire Lord, which is not a vampire, and Luna, which is a hybrid dragon that she is combined with human, elf, and dragon elements to make her one very powerful individual. But she doesn't know that she's part human, and she does have a little bit of tech inside her too, but it happens. Well, to continue on to the story, she just got to the mountain where she is searching for Sarzac, because he is a necromancer and she needs his specific abilities that his necromancy has to cure this village before it has to be wiped off the face of the planet, because if not, it will cause major devastation across the globe and inadvertently causing a war. So, our protagonist, Luna, starts lightly searching for undead guards, which she ends up coming up to two undead knights at the front of this cave. Bolts right in there, bypassing these guards like they were nothing, which in reality, these guards could take out a mid-level party solo, while bolting in and out, darting around this cave, only stopping every now and again to try to get a sense of bearing of. She finally makes it to this very giant-like creature. It basically, if you go and look at him from her perspective, looks like a half eaten ogre type deal. Ogre, troll, giant, that sort of temperament. About 9 foot tall, don't know how he got in or out of here, but I digress. She finally got to the ogre and stopped, where she figured that to get to where she needs to be, probably needs to get around this guy fairly quickly. When the ogre started speaking, whoa, 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 I remember you. You're... And before he could complete his sentence, she says, stop, not anymore, don't mention it, or will perish. But saying, okay. I mean, no harm. You're looking for our master, right? Like, yes, I am. Like, let me show you our quickest path to him, which is this teleportation path hidden here in the wall. This is actually a complete labyrinth Sarzac made to try to convince different creatures stuff to try to get through. Needless to say, though, no one's gotten past the guards yet. So most of us are bored as shit. She laughed for a second. God. And you guys really gotten a lot more lively since the last time I saw some of you undead. But yeah, that's because our master's power keeps growing, understanding more of the depths. But you know he eventually wants to be able to actually resurrect people and stuff, so he can actually save some of the people from his past. But trust me, I understand his past way too well, and probably the only reason why he was tortured for the last 100 years or so. The ogre standing at her and is like, I don't want to be him at the moment. It's like, hey, ain't you supposed to take up for your master? Like, I don't want to die. They both start laughing. It's like, then he gradually shows her he hit something in the wall, and the wall just gradually starts moving away. She walks in. He says there's a teleportation pad at the end of the corridor. Step on it and you'll be right up there in Master's lair. You gonna let him know that I'm coming? Heck no, it'll be more funny if he sees you up there. He probably won't recognize you anyway. You do look a little bit different, but good thing I see people through their auras, not their bones. They both start laughing. Like, yeah, this sure is heck gonna be interesting. I hope I don't hurt him too bad. He slaps his face. If my master wasn't immortal, I would be very scared for him right now. But I'll see you when you come back through. Well, he walks down this little corridor, steps onto this little teleportation pad, which from a never seen much technology before, looking down at all this, she just seen rooms light up and everything, but looking at through the reader's eyes, it's actually a raised metal pad with light strewn through. And there's a lot of actual technology in the magic that she didn't notice because she is from a backwards world. Well, needless to say, she steps on the pad, teleports to Sarzac's lair. This will be coming in two parts. First part is Sarzac's narration of events going through, and then you'll have Lunar's narration of events coincide with each other. Well, I'm gonna do Lunar's first, simply because why not? She walks into the room, looking up. The very first thing, like, holy shit, who is there? Trying to act like all innocent. Why is anybody coming through that gate that isn't one of my undead servants? Kind of just being the general, oh, I'm the big bad, you should be scared of me. So starts walking forward and she finally starts showing her face. Like, and then the words that immediately come out of his mouth, I am not your father, which enrages her. A little bit of backstory of what happened. between the two of them is back in the village. Because he's a big wanderer. He likes to go to place, simply because he is a literal immortal. His soul, because of because of a spell gone very wrong, his whole entire life force got fixated and mixed in with the life force of the universe. So you could destroy him down to the very last atom. He would eventually grow back at a fairly quickly rate. Well, anyway. And so he's been alive for thousands of years at this point, and he has traveled from planet to planet. He's a basic wandering trope. Okay, well, he wandered into this village, which, since he was the chief warrior for so long, and one of the most dangerous people ever to walk in this planet, but even before she got a major power up, them two had a relationship that went way beyond what he normally has with the flings and stuff, but he realized that when she started looking 40 years old after about 100 or so years of being together, that it wasn't going to work, and just took off like a frightened little child, because, his general persona is, she is going to die, and I don't want to watch any more people that I love die. She understood that, and literally is the only reason why she didn't hunt him down and make him suffer way beyond what he deserved. He's not exactly how can you say it? She takes care of business when she needs to. She's a warrior at heart. So when he left, immediately, without any word, only to find out he left, and the reasoning for it, she just went on with her day after destroying after making a 90-foot hole, about a 60-foot hole by 30 foot deep to the ground, by just smacking it over and over and over again, which she ended up turning into a pool. Some of the elders turned. I mean, it worked out for the best for everybody. Well, they did not leave on the best of terms, because he basically got his last piece of apple, then bolted. No goodbyes, no nothing. So, armed with that knowledge, and he also does know just about everything about her, but doesn't know there is certain few things that were hidden because of certain reasons. They didn't show up. Anyway, I digress. After he immediately says, "I am not your father," she comes up with such a rage that balls up her fist, like, whoa, I need to be angry. No matter what your mom says about me, it's impossible for me. And by the time he was about to say impossible for me, she grabs her fist and charges at him and hits him in the chest. Hits him so hard that he's wearing armor, magical armor, to negate 90% of all damage, physical damage. She hits that so hard, it imprints that inside of his chest, bursting his heart, part of his lungs, hitting the wall behind him, sinking him in 20 to 25 inches into the wall. And I mean, it looks like one of those cartoons that when you've seen this kid, it's like boom, you see a hole, and then the dude comes walking out, or I mean, that's generally. And she ends up saying, "What the fuck did you just say?" After the way we. He just went on a tangent the last probably about 10 minutes of her cussing him up and down before she finally just stopped, took a deep breath, and looked at him. I am not Boomer's daughter. I am her. If you actually look for more than 2 seconds, you would understand. He's coughing up blood, trying to say a few things that she couldn't hear audibly. He finally collapses forward, pushing himself out of the wall there, and finally has to bend the metal out of his chest before it starts all growing back. Holy fuck. What the hell? Then a fist came like right here, and it's like, are you listening to me? I knew you were angry, but you also understand. Immediately goes back up. And then everything goes silent for a second before she looks at him, and it's like, you owe me. After how things got left, you owe me big. Oh. What? I am not about to rekindle. It's like, and then he looks up and it's like, he cuts himself off. I'm like, how the hell are you this? What the fuck? How are you this young? How? I am not going to do like so many things are popping to his head at once. Started saying multiple things, but kept cutting himself off one after another before he finally just slapped his face down. Like, you're going to have to explain to me what the hell happened. And like, that can wait. I need your assistance with a great matter. Like, a great matter can wait. I mean, it's like, what that? We can talk on the way. I need your assistance. You do owe me, and how things ended. Well, and so she was like, I cannot just leave you. I like, you owe me. There's a spell happening that I need your assistance with break, because only a very experienced necromancer could break this spell. If not, could wreak havoc on this whole continent. Need your help now. I will explain on the way, but we do leave now. Alright, I do owe you for about everything. But you also understand. I understand we don't need to talk about it. This literal flame started racing up her arm. Her hand started turning to a dragon claw out of her pure rage that was going. She's like, that's new. Alright, let's go. But we don't need to bring an army, by the way, outside. Like, okay, I understand. Alright, I'm gonna cut it here and then go back to Sarzak's side of the bench as soon as Luna pops into the room. It's a Sarzak's narrative of what happened. Well, he walks into the room, yada yada yada. Ends up saying what he said. Hey, wait, I am not your father. No matter what your mother says, being a little bit more colorful and trying to joke around, like, it's impossible. And then immediately gets hit. But when he sees him getting hit, he also realized that there were scales going up and down her arm, and then hits him chest, which everything in his eyes was going super slow motion, caving in. His eyes were wide open as he sees this almost indestructible armor constructed buried inside of his chest. He flies back towards this wall, feeling every second, inch by inch, compacting the rock behind him, how hard she hit. And he also noticed that she was holding back to a certain extent, even though she probably wouldn't never admit that to herself. Next thing he knows, she's starting to cough up blood, trying to figure out what happened. She somehow awakened or get inside. As he's coughing up, he falls over forward, screaming in agony a little bit, which all sounds like gurgles because he has a nearly indestructible piece of armor pressing down into his chest. He finally takes his arms, finally moves it up to rip off his armor. Sarzak's no slouch, but he does a horde doing violence himself because he understands what violence actually is. One of the reasons why he stays alone. Well, after everything was said and done, he gets up, starts trying to explain to her, and then he keeps cutting her off. Well, as everything is playing out, starts trying, his thoughts kept on getting confused around and everything, where he gets like, what the fuck is really going on? Does that really hurt? And then he realized, oh, she broke through her cultivation. That explains why she's a lot younger, but to have this kind of power, even at a... and he he's like, on the other hand, what did she break through? He's like, started getting going back and forth in his mind before he finally shook out of him. Like, I need your help now. But that can wait. What happened? No, you owe me big for how things ended. You owe me for not hunting you down like a dog. Which, and destroying your everything multiple times for however long I had left to live. For how things ended. He sighed and was like, yes, I do owe you one. But and then she went into explaining, hey, there's a spell that needs to be broke by a high-level cultivator. If not, will bring damage to this continent. He was like, okay. You win. Let's go. And then he finally, like, but I need to put, some more armor on because kind of broke this one. But he scoffs for a little bit. It's like, hurry up. Got to go. I'll meet you at the exit. I really want to see you as you are right now anyway. Like, okay, whatever. He goes and takes the remnants of his armor off. Like, man, that was a perfect piece that stole off of a boil out of a planet that one of his first planets he went to. He grabs his battle robes, he grabs this almost cloth-looking armor. If you didn't really look at it right, in modern times, it looks more like Kevlar. Puts it on, buckles the things, and then starts shining up and down, where all the way up and down his back and shoulders. Grabs this rod with this magnificent ruby. Looks like half like ruby, diamond, emeralds, all mixed into one swirl at the very top. Dragging like skull or arms coming out of each side, just like this. It was very amazing. Puts it on there. Puts this sword look, a short sword, two short swords on it, back going crossways, just like this, on the edge of his back so he can reach quick and come. And he also puts his two things on right here. Those two things are actually quick release blasters for gun use, but this world ain't supposed to have that level of technology, and unless he absolutely needs it, he ain't going to use it by all means. But with the powerful threat that even has Lunar seeking help, he knows he needs to come prepared. If not, he'll wipe the floor with him for 100 years. Wow. Bonnie gets ready, it takes what, of like 10 minutes. Runs to the teleporter, jumps on the teleporter, teleports away to the entrance of the cave. But immediately, as soon as he gets there, gets like a love tap. Just took you long enough, let's go. Like, he couldn't even get a word out. It was like, let's go. Fine. And this is where the narrative switches back to kind of both of them, back and forth. Well, they jump up and they both start flying that way. And back towards the town. Say no, it's going to be a few day journey, but that's also one of the reasons why needed to hurry up and go so bad. Well, he uses some appraising, more or less, it's like appraising magic on her, just to look at her journal if there was anything much changed, but it was kind of blocked because with the amount of effort that it would take for her to penetrate her defenses, she'd actually have to allow him to touch her and do a full scan. He does use tech and magic too, by the way, but Cliff no. Well, they go on for about a few hours when he finally asks, "Are you ever going to tell me what happened to you? Or do I?" She sighs for a second and is like, "Okay, I'll tell you, we do have time to kill while we're flying to our location." And she ends up generally telling him everything that happened from the time where it was an odd morning where this fellow tried to push her out of the way. He tripped, got hurt, and then tried to buck up on her and got home to getting back home and having what she thought was a breakthrough in her cultivation base, and then all of a sudden she felt like a hit by this metal thing at the exact same time she broke through. And then the next thing she knew, it was morning, and she washed off, went back to town, which then she realized she was degressed in age by what looks like about 90 years. He generally looks about 18 years old and very eye-catching, any straight or any girl ever. Well, as he would started hearing all of this, and she kept on with the story and then started talking about the undead village state and to the fake sarzac, which then he was like, "The fake what?" Yeah, the part of the story that I need to tell you that this town was under attack by somebody claiming you, and is most likely the culprit of what happened at this town, of an actual vampire. He's like, wait a minute. An actual vampire claiming to be me. I don't know where this whole thing being called Sarzac the Vampire Lord is like, you're pale as a ghost and you're very hard to kill. It's most people, unless they actually know better, kind of think you're a vampire. I am offended by your accusations. She also don't know that part of the reason why he ended up turning a human fact of life was partially because of vampires killing his entire, or half of his family and whatnot. Because Sarzac's last name, she can't remember anymore, started with a bell, and that's all you can remember of it because it's been 1,000 years ago. So he always just said his last name was Bell. Well, anyway, For those who know what I'm hinting at very funnily, um, back in his past, when he was still a normal human, he was dabbling in magic to try to save everybody that he actually ever loved, which is also his main forces of his core group of undead that he originally rose from the dead, because he was trying to find every way possible to save. And there was a spell that he cast that went horribly wrong, and it literally had to do with everything from the fluctuation of the air to the lunar movements to the how much water even was around. I mean, as that how complex the spell was, and it's a spell that was a complete accident. That literally, if you would have casted it 3 milliseconds later, it would have turned out the way it was supposed to. It was a freaking nature how all that happened. He became an actual immortal. Then the next thing he knows, he was rotting in a prison for years, being tortured 12 hours out of the entire day. But he forgot most of what happened of his early years, and he was like that for the first 100 years of him becoming a true mortal, a fact of the universe. Well, he came out of his thoughts and like, alright, he felt, Lunar, let me scan you right quick, and no, I'm not trying to act any sense of our old life, but let me scan you right quick. I need to, because if what I think happened, which I hope not, there's a whole new set of problems that you can have. She sighs right quick. Okay, I do need a little bit more background on what's going on anyway, and I know that you're thousands, if not millions of years old. Should be a speck of dust in the wind by now. Funny. Yeah, not really. Back at him with a serious tone. Okay, I get it. I really did hurt you. I'll make it up to you now, and I know who we are. But she just flicks out her hand like that. He grabs her hand and does the spell, which lights up at his hand right here. There's like these two like little metal things that fly up in the air, go over her, scanning using, while he's using magic to imprint it, magical stuff going all the way through her. But she allowed the two metal things going across, basically scanned her entire body, and this thing for her entire body to actually understand what's going on. The two little things came back and finally let go, and was set dead silence for probably about an hour before he's like, "This is fucking this is almost as impossible as what happened. What the?" And then all of a sudden he started jumbling up his words. Like, she looks back at him and was like, "What the heck?" He finally hits himself in the head right quick. He's like, okay, this is generally what happened to you. And I wasn't correct on what part of my... Go away, James. No, not for another 20 minutes. Sorry about that. Well, getting back to the story. Um, with everything going on, he sat back for a second and throwed his head up while he was still flying in the air. He's like, okay, this is exactly what's going on. Basically, you were right in the middle of having a burst of cultivation, busting through the demigod level of cultivation base, which is incredible in its own right. And I don't understand how you didn't get younger till now. The reason why you were still aging, even though that you were cultivating the way you were, and why you were actually growing a lot, or your growing patterns weren't because of your cultivation base, but because you're actually part elf. It startled her first thing. Part elf. Yes, but my mom was no. Your mom was a half elf from. I wasn't supposed to tell you that. That was forbidden. Now, and I do tend to try to not want to cause a war within separate groups. Well, and you know how I am. I'm very non-confrontational, which that will come into play later on the story. Just take a note of that. It's like, okay, I understand. I get the elders are, yeah. They almost died when all this shit happened. And all this shit happened to me anyway. So, almost, yeah, I can see that actually. Anyway, basically what happened to you, which is something more rare than what happened to me, is right at the right moment of bursting through a demi-human or demigod. I'll just say a demigod for right now. I can't remember, but that may be actually the proper term. Anyway, breaking through when this device actually hit you. This device was actually finds powerful soldiers, converts their way of thinking to actually eventually taking over the host's mind and joining the ranks of Set, which happened with an ancient empire that somebody must have found the technology base. It basically helps them get stronger, but as they get stronger and the machinery gets more integrated into the body, it starts taking over the host body. She started getting scared, and it's like, you don't have to worry about that. I'll explain to you a little bit more what's going on. Let me talk. He's like, fine. What the fuck? And then all of a sudden he starts explaining. Basically what happened is when it hit you in the middle of your cultivation base, which it shouldn't have done, because those things do have a certain ascension about it. It hit you at the exact time you actually broke through, allowing it to actually spread throughout your entire body. But by doing so, they started activating dormant genes in your body, with your elven side and your dragon side start popping up their head. And your human genes are ones of very nobility throughout, even in like galaxy-wide level. You are never a normal human, which you're basically what they called a royal human, which was basically a bunch of pre-engineered, perfect to the T humans that were able to do everything from elf to do with magic, would to um, even compete with some lower level dragons fairly easy. Some of them actually became emperors and stuff and controlled great power. And you're part of the royal human line, your ancestors, so you do get passed down through your DNA. Your dragon side, which lay very dormant within inside you. The reason why I didn't detect it earlier is because I never wanted to intrude onto the building blocks of what made you, because you never cared to know what your father was or anything like that. Well, anyway, going through everything, you are but when that hit you, your dragon side attached to the biomechanical device, and pretty much erased the actual programming AI in it and replaced it. Because one thing a lot of people don't know, a lot of people that are half dragon or that aren't full dragons of any, or have ancestors, have very bad tempers, which the temper comes out as part of the dragon inside you that has a hard time dealing with strong emotions, which is one of the reasons why you are a fantastic warrior, is because you actually drew on those emotions and it allowed the cultivation inside you to take root a lot better for you to fight on a higher level. Damn, you can fight. He starts rubbing his chest. Still fucking good baby. And just let me talk. Trying to cut her off, but then he explains what generally happened was it all fused together and then pulsated throughout your entire body, which through the technology combined with allowing you to be a perfect and one-of-a-kind being. Which, the thing that kind of confuses me a little bit is, for that to have happened, your human who did have royal human DNA running through you, but even the elven side of yourself was of a very high caliber and should have been a dead race of blood elves that shouldn't have existed for millions of years. Well, which, unlike what their name implied, they were just very, very powerful next level elves that commune with a lot of different things and ended up using blood magic as their base because it was the easiest way to control and dominate, because they were a little bit warlike, unlike the most of the peaceful elves now, which is one of the reasons why they got wiped out fairly quickly. Well, not fairly quickly, it took about 10,000 years for them to, but anyway, I digress. And then mixed in with your dragon DNA, which was hidden. Which, like I said, if I'd have easily probed you at all, I would have found it, but I generally only probed you with magic, so I didn't know part of what was going on, which she was started raising question after question in her head. Why? Because she remembers her mother up to us, but for the most part, her mother had to leave, and she found out that she ended up dying when she was like 5 or 6 years old, and she was wondering if the council had anything to do with it, or if she really died, or if she was just gone from the planet. They knew a lot more of what was going on because she's overheard several conversations than Sarzac, and so she was starting to get a little, but then quieted her mind. It's like, pay attention, and then looked back over her, and Sarzac started saying again. So basically, your dragon side of yourself attached itself to the bio thing, the biomechanical, which I know you don't understand what I mean by that, but think of it as like a magical sword that had a will of its own. That general type thing. Well, anyway, when that happened, it took over the main processing unit and ended up taking over the AI portion of itself. It's the reason why if you pop up the window in front of you, how did you know? Pop up the window, that go ahead and pop it out. Pops up and it's like, and then it shows like calculating, and then up in the corner it's like a little chat bar came back, and it's like, what he says is absolutely true. I've been inside you this entire time, and always was left in silence. You know how terrifying that is as a growing dragon? But you have to think about that as not as like a little personality. In most cases, it was basically reared its head more beast-like moments of one's life, where during like particular adult moments to fighting, stuff like that. And but because of the level of DNA, of the dragon DNA inside her, because she was essentially was born from a dragon god, her DNA was a little bit different than your average dragon, which in cases where they ended up having more split personalities, which is one of the reasons why her dad sealed the dragon in her for so long before this happened. Mainly because he didn't want her to be controlled by her baser instinct and become a terror on the world, because she probably would have been like the next coming of the Demon Lord if he didn't. Well, that's just a little background story that will come into play way later. So basically, because of your DNA being a higher level dragon, it's a little bit different than like anybody else. And you're half dragons, that's why you wouldn't never be a proper half dragon. Somehow your DNA wasn't repressed. Well, when this all happened, it all happened at once, and woke up that morning. That's the reason why you're have such so much stronger. Like you bypass like a whole level area of cultivation to a point which is unheard of in 90% of cultivation worlds. And I know much of nothing about any of that because cultivators are kind of annoying. They end up getting this elitist attitude and it's like, oh yeah, you're a righteous person, but then like you're digressing. Okay, I understand. She ended up saying he was digressing because he knew that she told him about 1,000,000 times before, wanting to make sure she didn't fall into the same trap. Which, because at one time he was actually planning on being way more than he was planning on never actually leaving until he realized she was actually getting older and yeah. Well, so basically, as you can see with him, it took over your aptitudes and stuff, so that's outside of his knowledge until he learned something, which he probably got a burst of information, because he's still connected to the grave mine, but he's cut off several of the wavelengths that would allow any control. I mean, he's a proud dragon after all. Dragons are very proud creatures. It can also be annoying, but it also is probably one of the better things. Heroes and warriors and stuff, but it can be problems at times. Same thing with cultivators. Well, anyway, after going along and explaining some of the particulars no, James, any of the particulars or anything of what's going on, he ends up, they finally get in viewing point of the village, and it's like, we've literally been flying for 2 days straight? And then he stops all of a sudden. What the fuck is that? This feels like extreme evil oozing. And then he bolts like a shot of lightning. The moment he appears over it with what looks like flames. Oh, no, I can't. Howard. No. Like a bunch of black flames coming off of his arms. She was right to come and get me. And then she finally makes it up before Dr. Zay, the guild leader, was about to attack this new development until she turned around and it's like, don't. Then immediately here, anyone that isn't infected, and people started glowing parts of their body. Leave the walls of this village now. Just do as I say and you all will live. And you could visibly see how angry he was getting, which, unless you were lunar, you didn't really understand what was at stake, or the reason why he was getting that angry. Because she knew of the spell before, she just didn't understand how deep of a gash this spell residue left. And immediately he gets in more like a cultivator stance, flying towards the center of it. the infected area, not the center of the town, but the center of the infected area of the town. Then immediately you will hear things. He starts yelling. You will hear things, see things, feel things you are never meant to see, hear, or feel. Do not react. Because a crit of my cultivation right now could really destroy our not cultivation, but this healing this place will actually take a lot out of me. And then just stay back. Anyone that isn't glowing, leave now. If you don't, you will die. That means you too, Luna. You of all people cannot enter this town till I am done. Not looking at him was like, holy shit. This is really must be bad because she has never seen him that angry ever. And she's seen him angry, but it's never that bad. Well, next thing you know, about it looked like flames were bursting out of the ground. There's black smoke swirling of the pure blackest stuff that would make a priest go mad. Building all around him, and it was all gathering balls. Stuff was coming out of some of the villagers that were still infected. It was bad. But you could honestly see the more he was getting, the more angry he was becoming. Before he finally released all of his and started blocking his emotions, he started chanting along, doing more of a cultivation stance, walls of the most blackest black all the way around him. Next thing you know, creatures, like skeleton-like creatures, all this black stuff started turning into like 90 odd half shadow, half skeleton like creatures with the energies flowing from him to them. It was like a sight to behold, but stuff was so dark. And then all of a sudden he started using manipulating the light around him to do the exact same thing, to making the place actually more dark, but he was flowing the pure light through and out, in and out. It was actually, he was doing a combination of a top tier priest spell called Holy, a top tier custom made spell that he had of from his necromancer, him being a necromancer, and a sort of cultivation biased as well. Well, with everything combining all together, him flowing through him, through the soldiers, and back, it was a sight to behold. The purest black, the purest white. And then the dome shape happened, came over the village, that lasted a good 30 minutes before dissipating. And then all the villagers infected, all the villagers that were on the brink of death were all miraculously saved, whereas the villagers that did end up dying disappeared. And then they also saw this group of shadows soldiers, or shadow soldier skeletons that look like half shadow, half skeleton, all lining up in a row. He stood up, very first command he's like, scatter to the winds and become spies on the great shadows of this world. I need to know who cast that spell. I need to know exactly what's going on. Because if it's the threat I'm thinking it is, this world is in grave danger. I am not to allow anyone to harm. And then he shut up for a second and released the dome. As soon as the dome released, these skeletal looking creatures start shooting out to the nine corners of the earth. Well, not the earth, but of this planet. Well, she ends up walking up there and was like, that was an amazing sight. And then he looked around with his, but what's going on? I know that look. There is something going on. Well, during this long wait, she was studying, because with her new abilities, she was able to actually study the magics of other things. That's one of the reasons why she can learn and analyze things so quickly and copy it. But she couldn't copy necromancy. But there was ways around it, but there was a lot of priest ability going around. Some pure element abilities that she could recognize and duplicate in the future if so she needs. It also gave her a great idea, mixing it in with her own custom spell, which made the half undead, the half dead, the half lives. Well, anyway, she was like, what's really going on? Because I know you well enough to know if you're angry as I think you are, something must have actually happened. Well, looks up at Dr. Zay, like, you get over here now. Like, you stay here. And then puts up a bubble around Dr. Zay, her, and him. And looks at both of them. And then finally looks back at Dr. Zay. You and you are coming with me to find out what this is. I don't care if you have to leave at the guild. But how do you know I was... Shut up. She was like, just shut up right now. I'll explain that later. And yes, I know who you are. You're kind of famous. True. Well, anyway. There's a dark presence at work here, and we need to actually know what's going on before it's too late. This planet is in dire need. Because if who I think is in play here, which I can't speak his name at the moment, because even his name is spewed into spell works and stuff. So anyone with a magical sense says his actual name, bad things happen. It's like, so I need all information of what's generally going on. I've been trying to get away and keep my mind from wandering for the past 100 or so years, so I don't understand what's. Then he's like, and then it's like also pulls out this pen, like gives it to him. This will help all of us. To let your guild know this pen don't ever run out of charge, so you can use it as many times as you need instead of just the once a day. Like, how did you know about that? That was supposed to be because I was the one that developed it. It's like if your kingdom would have realized that they were really going after me, they would have canceled the thing, the guild request, or the guild request immediately. So they knew it was a fake sarzac, but they couldn't let the public know because I don't exactly have the best reputation, since everyone thinks I'm a fucking vampire. Besides, for a second, and then goes on to say, so do you know any information what's going on? And like, yes sir, I do. And as soon as he pulls out the paper, a bunch more information just pops on. It's like, I just got another report. Anyway, that just came through that was on. So, and then he reads it and he pretty much tells Sarzac, the fake Sarzac guy was a spy in itself and was trying to show graces into the organization that they were working for, that it was a small group of politicians, the Dark Country, Zarnith, but everybody just calls it the Dark Kingdom instead because it's a lot easier. It's where a lot of your sentient undead, your liches, vampires, your more grotesque demi-humans stuff all lived, and their leaders were mainly what they called demons, which were actually kind of a sub-race of dragon that coddled in too much with different demi races that turn them into what they are, and have a very high chance of having more dark element powers because of the certain race and who they were developed for and why. So the demon continent, one of the reasons why they are known as the Dark Kingdom, was kind of having a power struggle going on, where they weren't outright messing with the king of the country yet, but there was still a balance between the people wanting to conquer the world, people wanting to show those filthy, bloody humans what happens if you mess with the demon army, so on and so forth. Because discrimination, racism, all shit is ramped up to 10 when you think something's coming after you that looks like a monster out of a fairy tale is just saying hi, and you interpret it as he's trying to steal your soul. So, and with people not being enlightened yet, it made for some various wars and a lot of hate throughout the thousands of years this place has been here. Well, anyway, going on seeing what's going on, he actually was actually eventually came to a full-on peace agreement between them, the demi-human race, the human race, the elven kingdoms, and there was 3 human kingdoms. One that concentrated on more magic, one that was concentrated on more becoming more warlike, more brutish, more like a warrior type nation, and the other nation was basically more emphasis on music, scholars, art. Eventually, one king rose up and united the 3, giving a perfect checks and balances between the bright art scholar type, really brutish, you need to stand our ground type, having a sense of magical type, but they were still considered a different country. They just had one general person that actually, and a council behind him that actually kind of governed the 3 countries. So many of them considered it all the same. Well, as he started going through all the stuff, like the Dark Continent has actually been one of the biggest supporters of the human continent because of this new king. A lot of the hate and superstition and stuff started actually dissipating a little bit because he was actually started teaching the young how they need to understand that a person, regardless what they actually look like and what their nature are completely different next to who the person is trying to be. I mean, plainly stating, if a demon child and a human child and a human child were all playing together, that understand raging the other 2 species would be a lot easier, and they could hurt you a lot easier, but understanding that part of their nature is involved that allows them to be a little bit more aggressive than something, but understanding that just because of that doesn't mean they'll actually act on it, and understanding there are people just like you that go through the same emotions, except they have more power at a younger age to back up these emotions. And because of the human race finding everything that's different from them as a offense to everything they believe, which is also one of the biggest causes of what's going on in the real world right now. I digress. He has been teaching the young how to understand and focus and don't let the hate of the past, just because something's different than you, that it's not evil or good, but you actually have to understand the person as, or the creature or demi-human or demon as a person, which they're not really demons, they're subspecies of dragon. And a lot of this started flowing through and ended up over time ended up actually helping the entire human race as a whole. But there's still pockets of resistance. You know, people are going to hate regardless. No matter how stupid or moronic it is to hate something that had no business or who cares type thing. I digress again. So the demon really supported the human country, but with the power struggle going on in the demon country of this one particular faction that went from nothing to rivaling the royal family was mind-boggling. And he was trying to, not now, James, give me just a little bit longer. Okay. Well, and then finish explaining all the different nuances of he was trained to become a undercover agent inside this, so because they honestly didn't know how they got their funding, didn't understand how deep the corruption is, didn't know how this faction got so much power, and also didn't understand the ramifications of some of the shadier stuff that they were doing under the scenes. And one of the reasons why he was going so far as to doing what he did is because he had to seem like a perfect recruit. And he was climbing up the ranks until Lunar came along and knocked his world into two. Well, and he understood a lot of the things he was doing was wrong, but his higher calling was to find out the depth of what was going on, and he felt, which he was kind of right, felt the ends justified the means. But he also understood, by standing towards the darkness all that long, that he was getting tainted himself, so he had to do what he could to keep from going full dark and betraying his king, which his king had his utmost loyalty to the core. But with him being who he was, a vampire master, overlord type, he was able to hide certain things of himself without being given away. And that's why he allowed himself to get some of the darkness inside him, so he could do what he needed to do to find out the extent of this evil that was about to be released. Sarzac like grabs his head and is like, oh shit. Alright. Looks at the, after Dr. Zay finished his report, is like, okay, all of us, we're going to the Dark Kingdom now. Yeah, I gotta hope I'm wrong with this. He was being, like I said, I'm under strict. I cannot tell you exactly because I do not want to let out that bag of worms unless it's fact. But if my theory is true, this country, this world is going to be in grave danger. And we got to stop it, recruit who we can to stop it. And then he stops for a second, grabs his head, flanking with his forces, telling them basically anybody that can blend into a crowd needs them to spread to the far corners of the world to find out exactly what's going on, because he suspects that they're not just the Dark Continent that has similar rises of power of this hate. So he looks at them all, he's like, we need to leave in a hurry, and then looks at Lunar and is like, thank you for forcing me to get here on time, because the dangers that we face is immense, and you might be the reason why this world survives. Not giving any context of why. She was just started looking at him like, what? I don't need to explain right now. You'll understand later on down the road. And I know that's a cop-out, but then it looks at you, your adventure guild, you write back and tell them to get as much information as they can, and to actually start actively looking into their own organization and stuff to beat out to see if there's any spies in the Adventurers Guild higher ups, and they need to correspond things, go from there. It's like, we need to get out of your supplies or everything that we may possibly need from this village. We need to leave now. I'm going to, and he then turned back to Dr. Zay again, and we need to get a couple priests and a few paladins from your adventure to come and bless this area as soon as humanly possible. And then also tell that I'm also going to tell the villagers that they need to start planting a lot of their crops here, because this place will actually allow the fruits to grow stronger and allow them to gain a lot of benefits that will actually help more than not. They hear it from me, they're not going to like, yes, we understand. I mean, necromancers don't exactly have a good reputation. Well, this is where I'm going to end this redeem at. It's already an hour and a half. I'm uploading this directly to YouTube after I review it a little bit. Thank you for redeeming it, sarzac. I had a lot of fun doing this, and you can check out my channel at Thunder Drummer at Twitch, and also give a look up sarzac. If you like any RPGs or any Castlevania or Resident Evil or anything like that, you'll love our stuff. And of course, I can do redeems like this, continuing this story or making up a new story altogether. Thank you, and I hope people enjoy this video. Peace.